Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello.
We have a new unboxing video for you. This is Fireforge Games Medieval Archers from the Deus Vult range, which means...
God wills.
God wills. Right, these guys are archers, putting it quite simply. You don't really get anything else in the box other than archers. A lot of Deus Vult stuff is mixed. You sort of get some options to have crossbows, options to have other stuff. Generally these are just archers. And we'll just pop them open and get straight on with it. So we have, that's the sprue. It's actually, they're all identical. So you get three sets of sprues. One thing I really like is the this way the bow, what do you call that, quiver. The quiver, usually quivers are just a sort of, it's just a quiver on its own, and it doesn't have any visible way of attaching to the figure, whereas these actually do have attachments to them, so you can do a little bit more styling with them. But that's a by the by. If I can get a paper and put them out on the paper. I was going to
suggest that.
Yes. I just remembered that's what we did. Right, I'll put this under here so we can have a look at them.
Okay.
In the box you get 3 sprues, which are all identical, and a set of bases. These are actually great for our 15mm. So, because that's how we base our 15mm. So they're coming for 15mm because the figures themselves will be based on clear bases. As you already know if you've watched the rest of our videos. Figure wise, you get 24 figures in total. They're all the same bodies as you get in the Fireforge men-at-arms, the sergeants, the foot sergeants. So they're identical bodies. More or less identical heads for the most part, I think. Yeah, they are identical heads. The only real difference is with this you get all bows and quivers, whereas with the other ones you get sort of maces, swords, a few spears, and shields. Whereas with these you don't get them, you just get bows. So they are only bowmen. Historically, in the medieval period, lots of armies had bows. If all armies had some bowmen, because most countries, or all countries, have people who go out and hunt, and also they are professional archers in most countries. England really did corner the market. The English army was massively made up of longbowmen. For reasons we've gone into in our other videos. So if you're doing an English army, you need tons of these guys, because these will actually be the majority of the figures you have in an English army. And you had whole regiments of bowmen in the English army, just like you had whole regiments of crossbowmen and stuff. So you had huge amounts of firepower. So you could have mass ranks of bowmen just pummeling the enemy with rapid fire arrows, as opposed to the slightly less rapid fire crossbows. Bowmen tend to be a lot better trained and a lot more disciplined than crossbowmen. Most crossbowmen were not, they were hired, basically. They were either soldiers who weren't particularly, they were sort of raised just for a campaign, and so you gave them a crossbow because they were useless in close combat, and the crossbow enabled them to fire at range at the enemy. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else to add to that one. Questions?
I just have one completely off-topic question.
What?
But it says medieval archers, right?
Yeah.
Have they spelled medieval wrong?
Medieval, no.
But evil is E-V-I-L.
It's not evil.
Medieval.
No, it's not evil. It doesn't mean it was a time of evil. No, that's not what medieval means. It means it's effectively medieval period is from the Dark Ages to whatever. What came after medieval?
Dark Ages.
No,
No, Dark Ages medieval.
Dark Age. Well, a lot of people don't agree with the whole Dark Age terminology. The idea of the Dark Ages is to have basically the Roman Empire fell, and what followed was the Dark Ages. However, we have more recently discovered that there wasn't really a Dark Ages. We actually know pretty much what went on during the Dark Ages, so it's not a Dark Age because we knew. Also, people weren't that badly educated either. So,
yeah, because in Dark Ages said that people had no education. Didn't
yeah, the idea was that after Rome fell, there was just wasteland of people grubbing about trying to find turnips to eat.
like it was a nuclear wasteland.
Yeah, basically a nuclear wasteland. Not true at all. England did very well after the Roman Empire collapsed. England did fine.
Because they were wrong.
France had quite a bit of trouble because the Muslims invaded it, but the Franks sorted that problem out, and as time went on, Europe pretty much sorted itself out into sort of distinct areas with kingdoms.
And France invaded England.
Yeah, well, France invaded England a lot, but England invaded France too. Yeah. So I would say really Dark Ages should technically be early medieval, and medieval should really start from you should really class it as when Rome decided to withdraw from Britain, which never actually technically happened. Britain was given independence. The Romans never left. Britain was given independence. So Britain remained Roman for a considerable amount of time after Rome fell. So, when the Western Empire had gone, Britain carried on being Roman, pretty much.
Till now.
No, the Normans really messed that up.
Oh yeah.
The Saxons were effectively Romans.
They were killed by Normans.
No, they weren't. Still Saxon today.
No, we're Normans.
No, this is the stuff they teach you in your school. It's silly.
No.
Saxons weren't an ethnic group of people.
No.
They were a
According to
cult.
my teacher, my family from Norway.
Your family are not from Norway. Your family are from Poland. So try and work that one out.
No, they're from Norway. No, because.
And if you live in Anglia, your family are most likely descended from Russians. But deal with that. It's like they have these things where you can send away for you send your DNA and it tells you what you're made up of. And it's absolutely...
It's not made up of molecules and stuff like that.
No, it tells
I
you...
never knew that!
It says, oh, you're half African and half French or something, and it's not true.
Now give me a small order of $1 million. See what I did there?
No. The genetic makeup has way more factors involved in it than just saying, oh, you're half this, half that. There are reasons, there are mixes in DNA. And you can't map the movement of people by testing the DNA and saying, oh, these people must have always lived here because they have the DNA here. No, actually people used to move huge distances. So deal with it, it's a thing. Look at the Romans. They marched all over Europe and North Africa. So, yeah. Anyway, so no questions on the actual bowmen then?
Yeah, they are bowmen.
Yeah, I know we've already discussed bowmen in other videos, haven't we? But typically I would say these figures are just as good as the normal Fireforge figures. I think Fireforge figures are really cool. They're quite chunky, Fireforge, so it enables you to have a little bit more fun when you're painting them.
Think you'd benefit with lead.
Why?
Because lead it has more texture in it compared to plastic.
Yeah, more detail, but I actually prefer plastic to lead, and the reason I prefer plastic to lead is that you can pose the figures better. So you can have a much bigger mixture. I remember when I started gaming and you had 528mm figures on the table and they were all in the same pose.
Well, I bet that was fun.
Well, it looks stupid. Nowadays you can have all sorts of different poses. You can have whole regiments where every single man's doing something different. When we're getting back into doing Saxons, I'm going to do a Saxon officer with an arrow in his eye, which is going to look cool. But that's
oh my god. It's Harold Dobinson.
If you think about it, given the way I'm discussing archers, and there weren't that many archers in Saxon Britain. The Saxons didn't really have archers. Typically, Saxon archers would fight in the rear rank. They would simply be support troops. There weren't regiments of archers or anything. In the Middle Ages, in the medieval period, archers were actually their own formed units. Although in some armies, they remained mixed, like the Russian army. The Russian army didn't have separate archer units. Every unit had archers in it. And the idea behind that was as you can skirmish without moving your unit. So your spearmen or whatever they are can take up a position on a ridge, and if the enemy don't come to you, then your archers can just jump out of the ranks and shoot down at the enemy. And the archers also carry close combat weapons as well, so they can fight as normal infantry as well. Russian archers wore the same armour and everything as everyone else did. So yeah, some armies did, some armies didn't. The Teutons, which is what we're doing, the Teutons, they had separate crossbow units, but they also had units where the crossbows were mixed with the infantry. So the crossbows would actually be part of an infantry unit. So the infantry unit could fire crossbows out, but then fight as infantry. But the crossbowmen didn't tend to be part of the same unit, they were sort of mixed in. That's as far as we know. I mean, that sort of military tactics aren't really written of that much. So there aren't that many descriptions, but that's roughly what we reckon happened. Mm-hmm. As for longbowmen, well, actually longbowmen are mainly English, but bowmen are typically, you would have units of bowmen who would be people who hunt, drafted into the army, or actually paid men, paid mercenaries or paid soldiers who practiced and learnt to use the bow. The French army didn't employ longbowmen. They preferred crossbows because they didn't want to train peasants. Because if you train peasants, they might get ideas. You don't want an armed peasantry who knows how to fight.
Good point.
Yeah, whereas England, we actually, the English persuaded the people to learn to fight. So most people in England would be in this period, and through the Saxon period through to this period, would have been most people would have known how to fight. Most people would have been trained in some form of combat. Different way of thinking. The French ruled by power, by having your knights, and then the church would keep law and order. And if anyone was thinking of rebelling, the church priest would inform the local baron to come and deal with it. Different in England. It was slightly different, but that's a whole other conversation. Yeah, so we are going to be doing Crusades, Third Crusade. So these guys are going to be English archers for the most part. Not Teutons, the Knights Order. What's the English Knights Order?
Knights Templar?
Templar. The Templar did also employed archers as well, mostly English, because they had bases in England, so they were able to recruit locally. But that's besides the point. That's really it for an unboxing video. No more questions? No? So that's it. Outro?
So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and comment down below. I ain't got questions time, sorry.
Right, okay. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.